Hola, buenos días a todos. Acá María Blaquier. Hoy tengo el honor de leer una carta horaria con Anthony Lewis. Anthony Lewis es un psiquiatra que dedicó su vida al estudio de la astrología, del tarot, en realidad de todas las mancias. Tiene un muy buen libro que yo siempre recomiendo, que se llama HORARY Astrology Plain and Simple, y además está en plena escritura de un libro que nos va a ser muy útil porque es sobre objetos perdidos, que es una de las técnicas quizás más divertidas de la carta horaria. Y hoy con ustedes, él nos va a ayudar a analizar, nos va a dar su mirada acerca de una carta, que es una carta del siglo XIX, en el que un astrólogo pregunta si su amigo va a morir. Entonces, hi Anthony, thanks for joining me.
Hi, Maria. Good to see you.
Yeah, same here. I'm delighted to be able to discuss a chart with you. I'm going to tell my public that for a long time we did this together privately.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great help for my horary practice. And so I think it's a great idea being able to share this with more people, because people, when they do astrology, the horary astrology can feel quite alone. It's a very complicated technique, very demanding, or that's been my experience.
It can be sometimes.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's okay. So
I'm sorry.
it's okay, don't worry. Do you need some time? Because we can also always start again. Would you rather?
I'm allergic to the pollen.
Okay.
And there's some dust or pollen in the air. Go ahead, I'm fine.
Okay. So this is a chart that you wrote a blog from, because let me tell everybody that Anthony has a very useful blog in which he writes about horary, among other things. So I recommend that also. I always recommend that to my students, but it's called the the Astrology and Tarot blog, right? Is that the name of your blog?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this week, Anthony wrote about this chart. It's a chart from the 19th century in which an astrologer asks if his friend will die. Okay? So, okay, as usual in horary, the ascendant represents the querent, or the person who asks the question.
Okay, Maria, let me interrupt you because I don't see, I have the chart. Did you enlarge it?
I did, but let me share it again.
Yeah. Share the larger one because.
Okay. What about now?
That's it. Okay. Yeah. Initially, it was just the opening screen of Solar Fire and the tiny chart. Okay.
So I was telling the public that the ascendant and the planet that rules the ascendant represents the querent, the person who asks the question. So in this case, Venus would be the person who asks the question, and the 11th of the friend would represent the questited, or what the person is asking about. And in this case, that would be the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the sun is placed in the fourth, in the radical fourth. And if we turn the chart, because in horary astrology, this is very common, it's a very useful technique, being able to turn the houses in a chart, we see that the radical fourth is representing the friend's sixth, the house of illness. So the fact that all the planets are there is, again, very telling, because he's asking about his friend's health. So all those planets, especially the one that represents the questited, placed in the fourth, which is the turned sixth, is also representative of the state of the questited. He's ill. This is obvious.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so again, we can see that the sun is approaching Jupiter, and Jupiter is not only the ruler of the six, of the radical six of illness, but it is also the ruler of the turned eighth of death. So I think this chart, I was looking at this chart and I thought it was quite straightforward, because the ruler of the questited is approaching the ruler of the death of the quested, of his death. So this is almost surely this person will die. I think that the answer is affirmative. What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, let me give a little background. This chart, I like to look at old historical charts to see how they were approached and how the method, the technique has changed over the years. And this chart comes from a British book published around 1820. And in the section on horary astrology, it's an encyclopedia of astrology written by a man named James Wilson. And as an example of a horary chart, he includes this one. And the story is he has a friend of many years who gets very ill. And as you can see, it's January 10th, so it's the winter in England. This is in London. And he says, my friend gets sick every winter. It's probably seasonal flu or something like that. And he always recovers. So I wasn't too worried, but he saw the doctor, and the doctors were very worried that this was a serious illness. And so he says, I really didn't believe the doctors because he's always gotten better. So I decided to do a chart because I got very worried. So this chart is cast for the moment he thinks, I don't know if I can trust the doctor's diagnosis. They think it's very serious. It could even be fatal. Will my friend live or die? That's what's on his mind. And he casts the chart, and this is what comes up. So as the man asking the question, as you said, he is by the ascendant Venus. And so Venus represents him. Lily would probably ask, does Venus describe the querent, the person asking the question? Well, Venus is in Sagittarius in the 3rd house. He's an astrologer who's writing an encyclopedia.
That fits. It makes sense, yes.
Yeah. But the question isn't about him personally. It's about my friend and will my friend die? And so as you said, friends are shown by the 11th house. And there are no planets in the 11th. Leo is on the 11th cusp. And so his friend is represented by the sun, which is down here in the 4th. Does
he give any information about the friend? Can you relate that sun in Capricorn to the friend?
He doesn't give much information other than they've been friends for a long time. It's someone he really respects. And he's worried about his health. And that he knows the family as well. So he was visiting this guy because he was very sick, and the family was worried about what the doctor said as well. And so the friend is shown by the sun. And the sun is in the 4th. Now this is in horary, as you said, there are kind of 2 sets of houses. There's the radical set of houses, which relate to the querent and have a general significance. The 4th is a house of endings to begin with.
Yeah, the tombs.
And it's the house of the grave, the end of life, and what happens at death. And so this fits symbolically. He's worried, will my friend die? Will he, is this the end of his life? So sun in the 4th makes sense there. And from the point of view of the friend's 1st house is Leo. So his 7th house is Aquarius. And his 6th, which will be his illness, is here, the radical 4th.
Exactly.
And his 8th
would be
will
Pisces.
be the Pisces house, the radical 6th.
And notice that the ruler of the turned 6th, which is Saturn, is placed in the turned 8th of death.
Right. So the ruler of the turn 6, the illness of the friend, is represented by Saturn, is very close to and about to conjoin. And Lily would say even it's in the radical 6, which is the friend's turned 8th of death. So here, the planet that represents his illness is just entering the house of his death. So actually in the book, Wilson interprets this to mean that this is an illness that will lead to death because of what you said. The Saturn is moving into the house of death. And in addition, the ruler of the house of death of the friend, which is the Pisces ruled by Jupiter. And we're using traditional rulerships, not modern rulerships. So Jupiter rules Pisces. Jupiter represents illness from the point of view of the radical chart and death from the point of view of the friend. And that planet is in the fourth house of endings from the point of view of the querent. And the sun, which represents the friend, is applying in about, 5 degrees?
Yeah,
just under 5 degrees, 4 degrees,
under
4 degrees and a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's applying to the Jupiter. So the sun represents the friend himself, his body, his well-being, and Jupiter represents illness and death. And they will meet in just under 5 degrees. So Wilson says this means that he probably will die within 5 days. Now, this chart was asked on a Sunday night. You can see it's 11:30 p.m. roughly.
Yes.
And if we go out 5 days from Sunday night, we get to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, but it's under 5 days. So sometime on Friday, he's likely to die. Now, the other thing Wilson looks at is the moon, which is at the top of the chart. That's a general significator of everything that happens in the chart. It also happens to rule the 10th cusp, which is the 12th house of the friend.
Exactly, yeah.
So the 12th is his confinement, his needing to take the bed because he's ill. And it is also a house of endings. It's the final house of the chart and is often related to passing on at the end of life.
Yeah.
And the moon is applying to the sun as well.
And
so the moon
is translating the light from Saturn, the illness, to the sun, the quietude.
Right. It's translating the light from the illness, Saturn, which is at the cusp of the house of death, to the sun. And it also represents his confinement. And it's an opposition, which is usually taken to mean it's a separative aspect. So that the moon often represents the body, and the sun here is in the house of endings. So the ending of his physical body.
Exactly. And also I've noticed that the sun is translating the light from Saturn to Jupiter. Saturn meaning the illness in the turn chart, and Jupiter meaning the death of the friend.
Right. So there's two translations of light here.
Yeah. What about the mutual reception between Saturn and Jupiter? I've just noticed that. I don't know if you take that into account.
Well, yeah, that usually means that this aspect will perfect more easily.
Okay.
Right. And, it's a semi-sextile, right? It's roughly, they were in semi-sextile. It's separated from a semi-sextile, but it is a mutual reception. And it probably means that the death will not be particularly agonizing or painful.
Okay.
And I don't recall if he comments on that in the
I didn't see it in your blog, but I noticed it here. And what about the fact that the south node is on the ascendant? Isn't that one of the considerations before judgment?
Right. The south node is considered a malefic influence, and it's a point of loss and dissolution and endings as well. And so when it's rising in the first house, it means this is what's coming up in the life of the querent. So it's an indication that the querent is about to experience a loss, which is the loss of his friend, I think. Now, the other thing Wilson does is he looks at the moon opposing the sun, and that occurs in about, 5.5 degrees.
Yeah.
And so he takes that as a measure of timing, because the moon is a good timing measure in most charts, horary charts. But because the moon he looks at the latitude of the moon, that is how high above or far below the ecliptic the moon is traveling. And at this particular point, it has a very northern latitude. You can see that by looking just at the nodes. The moon is almost square the nodes, and it squares the nodes when it's 5 degrees above or below the ecliptic.
Oh, okay. I
Right?
didn't know that.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
the nodes are where the path of the moon crosses the path of the sun.
Exactly. Yes. There's
So
no
when
latitude.
it's 90 degrees from the nodes, it's 5 degrees above or below.
Okay.
And because the moon has, it's in its travel, it's past the north node and is approaching the.
I'm going to change my internet connection because your voice comes and goes. How is your connection? Is it unstable?
I don't see anything. Let me repeat what I said.
I'm going to give me 1 second. I'm going to change my connection to see if I get a better one.
Okay.
Just 1 second. Let's see. How about now? I think this is going to be better.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I didn't experience any loss or disruption, but let me repeat what I said. Wilson uses the idea of latitude of the moon here to adjust the timing.
Mm-hmm.
And we can tell the moon is about 5 degrees above the ecliptic because it's almost square the nodes, right?
Okay.
It's 0 degrees that it's on the ecliptic, 0 degrees latitude when it's at the node.
Exactly, yeah.
And when it's 90 degrees from the node, it's its furthest distance from the ecliptic. And that's about 5 degrees above or below.
Right, because the orbit of the moon and the ecliptic have that 5-degree distance between them. That's the intersection between them, yeah.
And
okay,
we can
yes,
tell it's
sense.
north because the moon has passed the north node, traveling north, and is approaching the south node where it will shift into a southern direction.
Okay.
So just by looking at the chart, we can tell the moon is almost 5 degrees north of the ecliptic.
Okay.
And Wilson quotes an ancient rule, and I'm not sure where this comes from. I don't know if it's in Lily. I'd have to read through Lily. It's not something I normally use, but he says that when you have the applying planet at northern latitude, things go faster. And when the planet's applying from a southern latitude, things go slower. Maybe he's thinking of like North Europe and Spain. People go very fast in London, but in Spain, in the heat of the summer, they're just going real slow.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm making that up, but I think that there may be something to that things that are more northern tend to move more quickly in this side theory, and things that are more southern tend to be more slow, maybe because they're more of a lunar or below the horizon influence. I don't know where that comes from. But in any case, he says, because the moon is applying to the sun from a northern latitude, it's probably not 5.5. It might be a little less, maybe 4.5. So maybe in roughly 4.5 days. And he comes up with this. He says, I think in about 4.5 days, there'll be the death. And then the guy dies Friday morning at 5 a.m.
Okay, yes.
Which is 4.5 days later.
Okay,
right?
and we can also see the sun, that is the quaescid, approaching Jupiter, which is the ruler of the turned.
Right, but the sun always has 0 latitude, so you wouldn't adjust for latitude.
Okay, I'm going to show people, I'm going to share the other chart to show people how in solar fire you can see latitude.
Yeah.
Because this is stop share, and now I'm going to share again the screen so people can see where you find latitude. And as you were saying, the latitude of the moon, because the moon is 90 degrees away from the...
It's like 80 degrees, so it's almost 90 degrees.
So instead of being 5, we can see here that it's a plus 453. And the plus means north, and the minus means south. So
if it were minus,
it would be slower.
In this chart, he would say probably Saturday will be the death
instead of 5 days, maybe 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, as I was saying, this chart is quite straightforward and the only planet that really has strength here. Let's talk about the doctor. Since he didn't believe the doctor is represented by the radical 7th, right?
Well, that's a good question because it's the patient's, it's his friend's doctor. So I'm not sure in this case.
Okay, so
The
it could be.
doctor in general in a horary would be the seventh house, but that's a doctor to the querent. And in this case, the doctor is the doctor of the patient, of the friend who would. Well, let's look at both because I don't know.
If it were the if
If it were Mars,
yeah, Mars is exalted in Capricorn.
Yeah. So it's probably Mars because the doctor was right. The doctor's warning the family, get ready. This is more serious. This is not as usual winter flu. This is very serious and he could die of it. And the doctor is correct.
Okay. And
the doctor, the Mars is in Capricorn at the end of the third house, applying to the fourth house.
Yeah.
So again, there's that sense of news about a death. If it were the doctor from the point of view of the friend, then it's Saturn. And Saturn is
Peregrine.
Signifies the endings, and you're right, it's Peregrine.
And it's in the 8th. I think that the chart sometimes makes you look at some parts of the chart. Now, for instance, Mars rules the radical 7th of doctors, and we have Fortune and the North Node also there. And so one could think that the doctors were right. The doctor was a good doctor because Mars is exalted.
Right. And he was, the astrologer was wrong. He initially dismissed what the doctor said, and that then started to worry, well, maybe he's right and I have to ask this question. So here it's the exalted Mars really fits the doctor.
And the querent is represented by Venus, and Venus is retrograde, but also conjunct Neptune. And even though we don't use outer planets as significators, that could also mean that he wasn't being quite, what do you call this? He was looking at things from rose-colored glasses.
Right, or not clearly.
Exactly. Not
maybe
clear.
his emotions were clouding his judgment. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. He wanted things to be better and didn't believe the doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. And another interesting thing is that Mars, because I see here in Solar Fire that it says that Mars is conjunct Phasis, the star Phasis, I call it, but it's Phasis in English, right?
I'm not sure how to pronounce it in English.
Okay, so right now,
we can call it Phasis.
Okay, Phasis. Okay, so right now we know that Phasis is at 8 degrees of Capricorn, but at this time, the time of the chart, it was around 4 or 5 degrees of Capricorn, and that is because stars move 1 degree every 72 years. So that's also something to take into account when one looks
how do you I don't usually use Phasis.
Oh, I do, because I have my Mars, my natal Mars conjunct Phasis.
Oh, so how do you interpret it in a chart like this?
It's part of a nebulosa. What do you call nebulosa?
It's a nebula.
Exactly. So sometimes it affects your eyesight. And that's been my case. And also it gives ruthlessness. And I feel I'm quite ruthless. And you know who has the Sun and Draconic Mars conjunct Phasis? LeBron James.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and he's also had some trouble with his eyes. I know that he had to be operated on, that he had trouble with the eyes. Okay, then. So
interesting. Anything else here?
Nothing. The only really strong planet is the Moon, but the Moon rules the turned 12th. So,
well, let's start the Moon for a second. The Moon is the Lord of the hour of this chart.
Oh yeah, okay.
And that's often very revealing or symbolic. And here the Moon is in the 12th house. It's a question about a friend who's confined because of illness. So the symbolism fits very well here.
And was the illness related to his chest? Because he was having trouble breathing? I'm asking that because of cancer and the moon.
Yes.
Okay, so that also fits the symbolism.
Yeah, initially they thought it was a respiratory illness that is common in the winter.
And it affected his chest. Okay.
And then he says that the doctor thought it was dropsy, but I'm not sure that's an old term, what it refers to. I'd have to look it up.
Okay, that's
know?
interesting. That's an interesting thing to see if it implied dampness, because the moon is in Cancer, and Cancer is a damp, wet, cold, cold sign.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And also the fact that the moon is in a sign that has the humor of the moon in Cancer is so different from the one of the sun in Capricorn, and the sun represents the querent. Okay. Bueno, I think this was quite interesting, Anthony. Thanks a lot for your time.
Well, we can thank James Wilson for publishing this.
Okay. I'm gonna.
He published it because he thought it was such a good, clear example of a horary chart.
So I'm gonna look up. Right. I'm gonna look up that biography for people who want to look at this chart, and also your blog, of course. Okay, then I'm gonna stop sharing and recording this.
Okay.
And.
Good.